Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of my podcast. 100 episodes. Oh my God, I am so excited. But when I realised it was the 100th episode, there was only one person that I wanted to bring on. This person has been my mentor from the very first moment I actually went online and Googled, I need to make money without working as hard as I'm working right now. And we are, we're 5 years down the line, and Lisa is still my absolute go-to. So hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining me. How are
I'm
you?
so honoured to be your 100th episode. That is so cool.
Exciting, exciting. Okay, as I always do, we're going to dive straight in because,
Yeah,
hey, why,
do
why
it.
fluff it up? Why fluff it up? So let's go back a little bit and let's go back to life before you became a business owner.
Hmm.
What would you say success meant to you back then?
Before I became a business owner, if I thought about the word success, honestly, I think it meant money. I think if I looked at people that were successful, they had nice clothes, they went to nice places, they were driving nice cars. And I think I thought that was success in my naivety.
Yeah. And I think most of us do, don't we? We
Yeah.
see that, we see all of these things people have got and we think, that's when I've made it. That's
And
when I've made
especially
it.
because, like, if somebody was in a car, a really nice car, my friends would be like, oh, look at him in the car. I always thought, oh, that means he's successful because they don't like him. So
Yeah.
I had a really weird view on success
Uh-huh.
because of money mindset and because I grew up in poverty, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and it does make a difference, doesn't it? So you went from being in debt
Yeah.
to making a lot of money.
Yeah.
The
Over
world
20
knows that.
million. Yeah, over 20 million in 6 years.
Exactly, which is phenomenal, isn't it, in terms of money?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you reach that point, when you sit here now and you look back at your journey, which has been a roller coaster, I think it's fair to say,
Yeah.
what would you say that you felt like at that point? So you are one of these people now who can have all of these things and stuff that you saw other people having. So
Yeah.
how do you feel at that point?
It took a while for my mindset to catch up with what was there. So even when I had, like, my first million came quickly, and even when it did, my mindset was still that I was poor. So I'd still think I couldn't have things for a long time because that money would just surely that's just going to just disappear. I've never, this is a really weird thing to say and it's going to make no sense to people. I've never felt successful even at the highest point of when I was financially free. So when I had the most amount of money, when I had the best clothes, when I was going to the most expensive places, no part of me felt successful because I think success comes from within, but we don't know it. So yes, I felt like I was rich and that I had a lot of money to spare and that I was helping a lot of people make more money. And all of those things were good. And don't get me wrong, I loved that life. I did some amazing things. I was able to treat all of my friends in one go to go on like yachts and things like that. Things that I'd written in diaries when I was younger, like imagine what it would be like it was an amazing lifestyle. But I didn't feel successful really because my version of success changed. Success became uh, different really slowly, but it became different. So, as soon as I was making lots of money, I was working a lot of hours. The more money I got, the more I was working. And so then it became about, oh, wouldn't success be nice if I had time? Suddenly time became success. And then when I got a bit of time, because I started doing passive income and that kind of stuff, then my health was suffering because of the trolling and all the stress online. And so it's like, God, real success is health. And like at every point, it changes because there's no such thing as having everything. There's always something that you're giving up to get something, which will make you feel less successful unless it comes from within, because there's a compromise to be made. People who have a lot of money don't do it in a very easy way. Like there's always going to be trolling or something like that. There's always going to be people wanting to knock you off a perch. That's just how life is. And so you're giving up something to get something always. And so I guess success, when I looked at people at the beginning that were successful, what I saw was a load of people with flashy cars and nice things. I didn't see the other side. to what that meant for them. I just saw that and thought, oh, they have all of those things and they don't have to give up anything for it. And that simply isn't the case. And no one tells you that till you're in it.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, isn't it? Nobody talks about the cost of success, if we want to use that word, but nobody talks about the cost of making a lot of money, because you've got to give something up, haven't you? You've got to make a decision whether the money is the priority, or the life is the priority, or the time is the priority, or the people is the priority. You have to pick your.
And there's a phrase that people say, like, yeah, you can be poor, you can be rich, choose your hard. And I think people think that by saying choose your hard, like it's hard being poor, it's hard being rich, choose your hard, that they assume that being rich is a lot easier. But it depends what comes with it. Like my life was ultimately a lot easier when I hadn't even made 6 figures than it was when I made 20 million. Easier. Well, I don't know whether I could say it was better, because some great things come with opportunity of having money, but it was easier for sure.
Yeah. Do you think that when you made a decision, a conscious decision to actually change things in your life to enable you to move into what you now saw as success for you,
Yeah.
do you think that that came with emotional baggage? And I say that because when I walked away from my business, which I didn't make as much money as you did, but it was a 7-figure business. We were turning over in excess of $1 million a year. I felt so guilty because I thought other people are going to think, well, who is she to say you've built what you wanted? Because everybody assumes it's what you want. And now you're walking away.
I totally
Did
get
you
that.
find that?
It was more that what worried me is that I didn't want people to kind of look at me and go, oh, yeah, it's all right for her to say that because she's already made loads of money. And the reason I knew people would say that is because that's what I said. Someone once told me very early on, before I'd made the first million, be careful, because you will think that making all this money is going to make you happy and that all your problems are going to disappear. Careful not to follow a path so far that you can't find your way back again. And I said, it's all right for you to say that because you've made money. You don't know what it's like. And he kind of looked at me and laughed, which is now what I do because I get it. And you can't get it until you're there. You can't understand that actually it doesn't solve all your problems. It makes some things easier and it opens opportunities. And there are definitely good parts to having a lot of money, but it also brings you more problems than you had before in different ways. And those problems are core issues to do with you and your identity and resilience and what you can actually cope with, and health and so many other things that are actually, when you look at it, more important than money.
Absolutely.
They are. But it's hard to see that when you don't have money.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, isn't it? And I've certainly had that too. People have said, but you've made the money, so you know what it feels like to have the money, so it's easy for you to say. And I know when I started talking about this stuff back in, gosh, 2021, people looked at me like, I'd got something that shouldn't
Even
have
me,
growing out.
honestly, even me. When you first said, I had a 7-figure business and I gave it up because I didn't want it anymore, I was like, what a fool. Why would she do that? Like, she was on this great trajectory forwards, but I was a couple of years behind where you were.
Yeah. And I think it is easy for us to say, isn't it, when we've been there and built the thing and then made that decision to do something differently. I think you sort of get trapped in this version of success that you think everybody expects of you at that point, don't you? I think it becomes an expectation that, Lisa's got to hear what's next.
People said that to me all the time, like, when are you making 8 figures? Because I got to 7 and multi-7, when's your 8-figure mark? As if that is the only trajectory you are allowed to go in. And you also feel like if you make another decision to go, well, actually, I don't really need this much money, and my life would be a bit easier if there was a balance here. Some money, because I like money and I like to do things with it. I like nice things and I like to give it away. I want some, but not, there's a balance. There's an edge of I don't need this much that comes with this many problems. I want to be somewhere in the middle. And for me, that was, I'd like to go back 4 years. That's where I knew I was at my happiest and the balance was perfectly right. And so, and I don't want to be as visible as I am, if I'm honest. That comes with its own set of problems. And so I was like, okay, but now people are going to think I'm a failure. So that's the first thing you think. If I purposely start making less money, people are going to think, oh, she's failing now. It's not working. And I inspire a lot of people. And so if they think that, they might not try and get the lives they really want to have. And so that came with its own set of like mindset buggery.
Yeah, everything seems to come with that, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so I had to really think about that. And I realized that the only way to deal with it was to take my audience on the journey with me and to tell them, this is what I'm going to try and do in the next year. I'm doing this purposely. You will see me doing it. These are the decisions I'm making. And I took them on that journey from making, $6 million a year to around 4. And this year I'm doing the same again to take it down again to the level that I knew I was happiest at. And already it's helped with like the success. Even doing that kind of stuff has helped me because it's meant that I've had to deal with not caring about what people think of me and whether I'm a failure or whether I'm a success. That in itself has helped my life enormously because there's a lot of pressure on somebody to make a lot of money when they've already made a lot of money. So that's gone now because I can do what I want. No one really cares. It's helped with health because my time is being spent in different places and in different ways. I'm moving further away from some of the online space that I don't like and some of the crowds that I shouldn't be around. And that's helped mental health. So many things have helped. And success is surely being in a place where you feel good every day more than anything else.
Exactly that. And I think it's okay for us to actually realize it's not what we had built because we didn't know back then. When we start building what we're building, we don't know. And quite often you just end up building more because you can.
And you evolve, like you get to a point where you evolve. And I don't think it's an easy evolution. I think that people think you just get to this point where you go, oh, that's enough money now. Let's change things. It isn't. Like it was like I went through a year of like, it was quite traumatic to realize that all this work I'd put in to build this version of my life wasn't the version of my life that I actually wanted. And it had taken a lot to get there. And now I was saying, oh, I've made the wrong move. I need to go back a bit. This isn't what I want. Yeah. And that was hard. That was hard to contend with.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? That really gets us. It gets us thinking because we're thinking what other people are going to be thinking, and I think that's the tough bit, isn't it? Was there something specific that happened that made you realise that the money on its own wasn't enough, or was it just a gradual thing?
No, it wasn't gradual. It was like 2 epiphanies. It was a 2-step process. The first was in 2020. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I was with my friends and I was about to go to Necker. And I had got everybody's version of success by this point. I'd got the 6 figures, 7 figures, multi-7 figures. I'd got the book deal. I hadn't got the book by then, but I'd got the book deal. I had got a #1 podcast by then. I was on some of the biggest stages. I was being seen with some of the biggest multi-7 figure people. I was in a mastermind that was invite only. I'd done all the things. And then I was invited to Necker and I was going to go. But I was sitting with my real friends from before this world. And they were talking about how it was one of their birthdays. And they were going to go to the Chinese restaurant in my old hometown where I grew up. And they were like, God, we're going to have to spend our $5.99 for our Chinese buffet, which is what we've always paid. And then they were like, oh, Lisa, you can't come. You're going to be on Necker Island playing tennis with Richard Branson. And it just hit me. I don't want to be there. I want to be there. I want to be at the buffet. I want to be having fun with my friends. I don't want to be around people that I didn't really respect. I didn't really like a lot of what they were putting out there. There was a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of lying. And I didn't feel comfortable with what some of those people were doing to their audiences and the manipulation tactics, that I'd have to be around to be a necker. And so I literally that day rang and said, I don't want to come. Me and Sam aren't coming. And they said, well, you'll still have to pay the 70,000 that you paid, so you may as well come. And I was like, no, you can keep the 70,000. Like, this is more important than that. And so I didn't go. So that was like the first step. That got me changing what I saw as success, and what it got me sitting down thinking, what is my version of success? Because I no longer even know anymore what my version is. And then in 2023, my best friend died. And that changed everything all over again, because it took me on a different path. People were saying, oh, he lived such a well life. I'm actually doing a TEDx on this subject, because people were saying he lived such a good life. And I was like, did he? Like, he didn't have kids, he didn't have a wife, he hadn't traveled a lot, he hadn't made success in material terms. I was like, I thought this was a life well lived. And it kind of challenged my perception on what a life well lived is. And I spoke to a few people, and they said, oh, he just left everybody in a better position than when you found them. And this played on my mind, because I was like, I don't believe, like, I don't really believe that is what success is, just this one thing. And so I decided to challenge myself and give myself an experiment. I like to challenge myself. I've done it before with the Woo Diaries. And I was like, I will do an experiment where for a year I do something for someone, anything that leaves them in a better state than I found them. And I did. And some of that was financial, a lot of it wasn't. And it completely changed me and how I thought about what success really is, because success is fulfillment and joy. And actually you get that by helping others, and that's all. That's the only way you'll really get that, the proper deep feelings of that. And so then that changed me again, and those two things together, like, okay, I know the path I need to be on, and it isn't this one.
Yeah. And loss, we both lost people very, very close to us in 2023, and I think it really does make you look at life so differently, doesn't it? It makes you assess the people that you spend your time with. It makes you assess the way that you live, the things that you do, what is important. But what I also think, I mean, this is speaking for me personally, but I'm assuming you probably will feel the same, is it makes you realize that nothing will ever be as difficult as that.
Yeah, you'll never go through anything as hard. And,
No.
People constantly say to me, I don't know how you deal with the amount of crap you get online. And don't know how you deal with having to show up even when people are trying to cancel you all the time, and all of those kind of things. And it's not that hard, really. I've been through worse in life. That's not that hard.
Yeah, and I think it's true, isn't it? It does give you that, and it's sad that we have to reach that point, isn't it, before
Yeah,
we
but it's
actually start to
perspective.
realize.
And also, whenever anyone's like really worried about anything big, and they're like, oh, this could ruin your life, or this or this. And I just kind of look around and realize that everyone around me won't be here in 50 years. Like,
That's pretty scary, isn't it?
they're not going to be, it's scary,
Uh-huh.
but it's freeing.
Uh-huh.
No one that has anything to say about you will even exist in 50 years' time. And therefore, why are we so worried about it? We have this tiny amount of time on this earth, and we need to do with it the things that bring us the most joy, because nothing else really matters, because it's so finite.
Yeah, it is. You've only got today, haven't you? The only
Yeah,
guarantee is the minute that you're living
now.
right now. So what you were doing now. So you want to enjoy that. You want to absolutely enjoy that, what you're doing. Would you say that as you've evolved, that people around you have left your world? I
Yeah.
experienced that.
Definitely. So there were people that I'd made millionaires who wanted nothing to do with me when I wasn't interested in any longer making people millionaires. They definitely disappeared. There were people that I was giving quite a lot of opportunities to by having a giant audience, and putting them in front of people and giving them opportunities, that when I changed my trajectory, that wasn't really a possibility anymore, because I wasn't growing a massive audience. They disappeared very quickly. People who were members of my team didn't like the trajectory that I was going in. They wanted to be seen as working for the person that earned all the money. So yeah, partnerships failed, lots of things happened, all for the good.
Yeah,
When
I
you look
think that
back,
in itself helps us to learn what we need in our lives, doesn't it? And
yeah,
you've spoke a lot about this is taking you back to the friends that actually matter, and they're your OG crowd, your crowd that are
yeah,
having the
because
Chinese takeaway for 5.99 in your local
exactly,
hometown.
they don't give a shit what I do. They
Yeah,
don't care what I do. They don't care how much money I make. They don't care what opportunities there are for them or what they can have. They don't care. They liked me and loved me before that. And so they love me after it and they keep me grounded anyway. I always did. Um, and so they are what matters, not people that are in it for something or because of who you are. Like it works the other way as well. Some people that bullied me really early on online when I was making nothing um, came and apologized to me when I was making a lot. And even that is like, oh, okay, you've seen success. And so now I'm worthy of you apologizing to. And actually, one of those people very recently, now I'm not on that trajectory anymore, has started bullying me again. So it's like you can really see the pattern
yeah.
of where you are and what that means to other people and whether you are worth talking to, depending on how much money you have. And that's why it's really important to surround yourself with people that just don't care
Yeah.
about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you say that the version of success that you're aiming for now, that the life that you're living now, is enabling you to be more the real Lisa?
Yes. I mean, I was always the real me, but that got me in trouble before because
Slightly.
I'm opinionated and I don't believe in cancel culture. I think that everyone should be allowed their opinions. And because of that, I say my opinions. And when you are of a certain level, when you're seen as a leader in the space, it does put a target on your back. You know, there could be 50 people that this happened this week, actually. There were 50 other people in this industry that said the exact same opinion as me, but I was the only one that got, called out to be
Targeted.
cancelled. And that's because when you have a bigger audience or you're more successful or you have more money, you have a target on your back. And so, yeah, in that way, it's always going to be like that. It always is going to be like that. But now, like if I keep going where I'm going to this version of success, then I can still be me, the same version of me that when I had 20 million, but hopefully the need to constantly look and challenge every move I make will go because there will be other people making more money than me out there and louder than me out there. So I'll
Yeah.
be able to disappear a little bit.
Hide away a little bit. Love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So just a final closing question. So as you sit here today, you've changed your life considerably, haven't you, over the
Yeah.
last couple of years? And you've probably been working on this much, much longer than that behind the scenes. So today, what would you say if money is no longer your main driver, your scoreboard, so to speak, what would you say is? What would you say is the driver, your version of success?
I think success is threefold. I think it contains when you are generally content and at peace. I think that is what success feels like. When you can change things around about the world in some way, even if it's people's opinions, like I am on a big let's change this cancel culture thing. That's success if I can go some way of changing how people think about that. And I think also if you can leave people in a different state to when you found them, then that as well is a version of success. So those three things for me.
Absolutely. And I think we both agree that the more impact you have on other people, probably the more money you make naturally, but doing it in a way that doesn't feel as hard work.
Absolutely. Impact will always, you know, the more impact you do, the more money you make. Income flows. It's a byproduct of impact. It always has been in anything that anyone does in life. And I think some people have just forgotten that. And so they chase the money. But actually, if they just think differently and chase the impact, the money will come.
Love that. Love that. Lisa, I have absolutely loved chatting. Thank you so much for joining me on this 100th episode.
Congratulations on 100 episodes. It's really hard to do 100 episodes.
It really is. It really is. But you know, I absolutely love doing my podcast. It's just me in my own little world. I just come on unscripted, waffle, whatever comes out of my mouth comes out of my mouth, and people seem to like it. So
I love
there
that.
you go. There you go. So thank you. We will see you next time.